Dear viewers, you're welcome to this edition of the Primetime Newscast on Equinoxe Television, live from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. I am Bablet Jonathan. Several shortcomings adversely affect the effectiveness of Cameroon government's COVID-19 response, and medical experts are urging government to rectify the wrongs as the coronavirus figures continue rising in the country. And the World Health Organization dismisses Donald Trump's claims that the coronavirus came from a lab in the Chinese commercial hub Wuhan, and warns against the use of untested remedies for COVID-19. Those were top stories. COVID-19 figures are still rising in the Republic of Cameroon. The number of confirmed coronavirus cases are increasing by the day. Yesterday, the country of President Paul Biya recorded 27 new confirmed cases of the coronavirus in the country, and the numbers are still increasing as government battles to put an end to the spread of the coronavirus across the national territory. And after the government decided to lift some anti-COVID-19 restrictions, notably on beer parlors and other leisure sites, as well as transport in the country, there have been fears that there could be a possible explosion of the COVID-19 figures as people continue streaming into beer parlors and other entertainment sites, failing to respect the measures put in place by the government and the World Health Organization to stop the spreading of COVID-19 in the country. And medical experts are indicating that if nothing is done, there could be the worst just next door in the Republic of Cameroon. And we talked to a medical expert, Dr. Ndifo Peter Louise. He is the Secretary General of the Cameroon Medical Council. Take it easy.
Week by week for coronavirus infection in Cameroon started week 1 we had 2, week 2 we had 2. After then we had 40 cases. The next week we had 90 cases. After then we had 486 cases. After then we had 230 cases. From then we spiked up to 325 cases, and we moved later on to 438 cases. From 438 cases, we now move to 468 cases. These were the cases that were actually diagnosed, and as of the 30th of April, statistics show that Cameroon has 2,069 cases. 934 people have actually recovered from this illness, and 61 have died. And if we want to find out what are the active cases that have been diagnosed, how many cases are still being sick who have been diagnosed in Cameroon, we'll subtract the number of cases that have died and those who are well, and that gives us 1,074 cases. The number of new cases that were diagnosed in between the 28 and 4 cases. The number of new cases that were diagnosed in between the
Dr. Ndifo Peter Louise, Secretary General of the Cameroon Medical Council, Deputy Secretary General of the Cameroon Medical Council, speaking there, and as indicated earlier, bars and other leisure sites in major towns across the Republic of Cameroon are still overflooded by persons who are violating nearly all the anti-COVID-19 measures of the Cameroon government and the World Health Organization. Many of the people are seated very close to each other, many of them not wearing the face mask, and of course embracing each other, dancing, greeting each other in violation of all the anti-COVID-19 measures. And medical experts are analyzing this and saying that it was not the right decision taken by the Cameroon government to lift the restrictions as far as the functioning of these bars and other entertainment sites beyond 6 p.m. is concerned, as well as in the transport sector. Once more, take a listen to Dr. Ndifo Peter Louis, Deputy Secretary General of the Cameroon Medical Council.
Increase the time that businesses open at night will give a false impression to the population that the infection is under control. Will give a false assurance that, the preventive measures that we are carrying out is good enough. Go to the streets, go to crowds. People don't respect social distancing. People don't put on masks. Face and nose and mouth masks have become a mask that they hang around the neck and around the mouth. And so, the preventive measures that has been described by that has been recommended by the government is not respected by the crowd. And so, by telling bars and off licenses and nightclubs to open until any time they deem necessary, I don't think it is safe enough. The population should know that irrespective of the fact that these places are open, they should take a purposeful, responsible decision that in those particular places we have a high risk of transmission of coronavirus infection. Because I don't imagine how people will be in the bar or in a nightclub dancing or drinking and putting on a mask. And people are very rowdy in those particular places, which actually increase the projection of droplet infections. Inside taxis, how do we respect social distancing inside taxis, inside buses? It will be difficult for Cameroonians actually if they could not respect it, when they just started. Then now, how are we going to make sure that the measures that are put in place are actually respected? Consequently, I think that if special measures to control the respect of the COVID-19 preventive measures in Cameroon are not put in place, we may see a possible exponential increase of these cases of COVID-19.
And I told you in the headlines that several shortcomings are having an adverse effect on the effectiveness or the efficacy of government's anti-COVID-19 response, and medical experts are urging public health authorities in Cameroon to rectify the wrongs as soon as possible before things get out of hand. We're going to come back to that report in a short while. Time for us to go to the southwest region of the country, where our correspondent Derek Jato reports that many of the persons infected with COVID-19 in that part of the country are medical personnel, and he says that this is because many of them are working without adequate protection. Derek Jato.
Coronavirus situation in the southwest region has been much more scary on the part of health personnel working here. Many of them who have been on the mission to rescue those infected by coronavirus today need to be rescued. A greater number of confirmed cases of coronavirus in the southwest region are health personnel. They went to face coronavirus unprepared. Today, backup has arrived from the presidency.
And then we put into somebody's notice.
And Southwest Governor Bernardo Kaliabilai is supervising the distribution. Tigo District Hospital is giving its own personal protective equipment, testing kit, and other sanitary consignment.
You remember that many complaints were coming from the health personnel that they are not protected. Today they are receiving necessary equipment, and we are here in the Chico District Hospital.
The defensive and attacking materials are from President Paul Biya, Commander-in-Chief of Armed Forces. This type of a war need but a different type of army, and these medical doctors are the soldiers at the front. Reason why they must be dressed to the occasion.
The health personnel, those who are in remote areas that the head of state and his government is preoccupied by their working condition. So those conditions will improve so that they feel at ease to continue to serve.
Other subdivisions in the days ahead will receive the same equipment, and Governor Bernardo Kaliabilai also visited the Prepared Treatment Center in Tico subdivision, gateway into the southwest region of Cameroon.
And the International Monetary Fund has approved the disbursement of 135 billion francs CFA to help Cameroon in the fight against COVID-19, and the financial assistance received the green light of the Executive Board of the IMF within the framework of the Rapid Credit Facility. Coming up next, Smart Jekan Gabriel takes a look at the loopholes, the shortcomings in Cameroon's COVID-19 response. Smanjikan Gabriel with the views of a medical expert on the shortcomings in Cameroon's anti-COVID-19 response. The Cameroon government has been taking a series of measures to stop the spread of the coronavirus across the country, but the figures have continued rising, and medical experts have identified several loopholes that should be corrected by the Cameroon government as soon as possible before things get out of hand. Smanjikan Gabriel.
Since the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic in Cameroon, it is still difficult for some patients to be catered for.
It has been difficult as of now for the patients who have severe conditions that cannot be managed appropriately at the level of our regions to gain access into other centers who are much more specialized in the management of COVID-19 cases, like in Douala. So we have a significant problem in management of severe cases.
According to the Secretary General of the Cameroon Medical Council, test kits still remain a key problem for Cameroonians, as the government in 2 months have managed to test just 9,000 persons, a number other nations in Africa do in less than a week.
Most patients find it very, very difficult for them to get get tested. By the time a test is actually, a sample is actually collected from this patient, to the time the results actually come out, at times it takes earliest 5 days to 7 days. The patient is waiting with the stress of the unknown. The clinician and the health personnel are there waiting and have the pressure of the family of actually starting the treatment or not. And it is very difficult for testing to take place. Most of the time, the amount of test kits are not available.
The absence of protective kits for health personnel for the Secretary General of the Cameroon Medical Council has led to the death of medical experts fighting against the pandemic.
It has been increasingly difficult for health personnel to get personal protection equipment. And all of us know that we health personnel, we've lost a few of our colleagues, doctors, nurses, and most of us keep on asking, what happened that they got infected? Where did they go wrong?
The medical expert begs for the government to put in enough effort to save the lives of the doctors, not minding whether he or she is a government or private paid doctor.
Health personnel, be they in the recommended COVID treatment centers or in any health facility, because me, I'm in a private health facility, and I'm saying it here, the very first confirmed case of coronavirus in the Southwest was diagnosed in this office. And so, if I didn't protect myself and my staff, what could have been the consequences? So we don't think that protection should only be in the government health settings. It should also embody all health facilities who receive patients, because we are the front line of screening and management.
As of the time of this report, Cameroon counts 2,077 cases, with 953 who have recovered and 64 dead.
The World Health Organization has issued a warning against people using untested remedies for COVID-19. According to the World Health Organization, Africans deserve access to medicine that have gone through proper trials, even if they are derived from traditional treatments. And the WHO statement comes as Madagascar's president is promoting a herbal tonic for treating COVID-19 patients. And also in Cameroon, the Archbishop of the Douala Metropolitan Archdiocese of the Roman Catholic Church's Crise, Samuel Cleader, has been treating some COVID-19 patients with some herbal mixtures. And according to the World Health Organization, this is very risky, and the African Union says it wanted to see the scientific data on the safety and efficacy of the product from Madagascar. The WHO has dismissed Donald Trump's claims that the coronavirus came from a lab in the Chinese commercial hub Wuhan. And the World Health Organization Emergencies Chief Dr. Michael Ryan says the White House has not provided any evidence to support President Donald Trump's claims. Katsi Uranus.
New evidence suggests the novel coronavirus is of natural origin. That's according to the World Health Organization. U.S. President Donald Trump has said the virus originally came from a lab in the Chinese city of Wuhan. But the United Nations Health Agency says they've not seen any evidence that this is the case.
We have not received any data or specific evidence from the U.S. government relating to the purported origin of the virus. So, from our perspective, this remains speculative, but like any evidence-based organisation, we would be very willing to receive any information that purports to the origin of the virus, because, as Maria said, the origin of the virus is a very important piece of public health information for future control.
A former EU diplomat to China told Euronews that a thorough examination in the country is still needed.
What is most important is that a proper investigation is done by the Chinese and with transparency for the rest of the world, so that we can work out what actually happened, how the virus developed, and therefore take measures against its recurrence both in the present and in the future.
The WHO says that Chinese scientists are continuing to work with the world, but accusations into possible wrongdoing by Chinese officials could derail the essential scientific cooperation.
Now we take a look at the impact of the fight against COVID-19. And schools have been shut down for several weeks now in the Republic of Cameroon, and this is having an impact on the functioning of the schools and teachers whose salaries are not being paid in some cases. And some teachers in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé, took to the streets to protest against the non-payment of their salaries during the lockdown period. For me, Armstrong Sander has more.
Filled with exasperation, teachers of Petu Bilingual College in Yaoundé recount their frustrations and disappointment with the school management, which has refused to pay their salaries for April and May 2020. Protesting in front of the school, the teachers say they learned with disappointment the decision of management not to pay their salaries because they were home while schools were closed down by the government of Cameroon to fight COVID-19. The teachers came for their salaries on May the 2nd as usual, only to be told that they will not be paid for April and May 2020. A situation seen by the teaching staff as unjust and unacceptable.
Le confinement, et c'est ce qui me surprend.
Reacting to the move of the teaching staff, Peto College management talk of a shift in the dates of payment. According to Pierre Fongang, board chair of the institution, management agreed to move teachers' salaries from April and May 2020 to June and July 2020 respectively. Speaking further, Pierre Fongang says the school has a 9-month annual salary contract with its teachers, and with the lockdown of May and April, management opted to extend payment to June and July 2020 after effective classes. The teachers who are victims of the situation say the decision and explanation of management is dubious and born of bad faith at a time when collective sacrifices is recommended in the fight against COVID-19 in Cameroon.
Concerning the northwest and southwest regions of the Republic of Cameroon, the government has decided to disburse 8.9 billion francs CFA for the reconstruction of the crisis-hit Anglophone parts of the country. The financial agreement and reconstruction framework documents were signed today in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé, by the Minister of Economy, Planning and Regional Development and the resident representative of the United Nations Development Program. And this took place, of course, in the nation's capital, Yaoundé. And Minister Delegate at the Ministry of Economy, Planning and Regional Development, Paul Tasson, and the former mayor of Kumbu, John Donatus, leading the reconstruction project in the northwest and southwest regions of the Republic of Cameroon. And a 2-day workshop has been organized in the Tombel to train council authorities on how they should adapt to the new system of decentralization. And the training took place in that part of the country. We have details with Immaculate Fogwe.
After the adoption and the implementation of decentralization in Cameroon, municipal authorities are yet to adapt to the new system as far as managing the resources of the council is concerned. In order to improve on the organization and the functioning of these councils, a 2-day workshop was organized in Tombel in the southwest region of Cameroon to help sharpen the skills of this council authorities.
The seminar was within the context of the law 2019/024 of 24th December 2019. Advancing the process of decentralization in Cameroon. The content of the workshop was basically on the councillors' roles and responsibilities and the partners. And partners include people like the Secretary General, the Municipal Treasurer, the Stores Accountant, and others.
According to the mayor of Tombel, such a workshop is necessary as it will be able to strengthen the capacities of council board members so they can effectively execute their function.
The workshop is for the training for the councillors, because we need councillors during the council section who are able to know what to do, what to say. Councillors who are able to go to their different circumstances and explain to the population what the population is waiting for them. And with the decentralization, you know that councils, the power will be transferred to us. So the facilitators come to train us and to tell us the new implementation, what we have to do.
Tombel subdivision in the Coupe Maningoba division, southwest region of Cameroon, is one of those areas badly hit by the ongoing Anglophone crisis. Heightened insecurity in the area has made it difficult for councillors to go to the field and carry out their duties. They expressed the wish for the Anglophone crisis to end so they could adequately serve their population.
Talking Point is up next. Our guest today, Gabi Ambo, a human rights defender and consultant, is joining us from the Northwest Regional Capital, Bamenda. Good evening, Gabi. Good evening, Gabi. You're welcome.
Yeah, good evening, Jonathan. It's a pleasure.
How is the town of Bamenda this evening?
Oh, the town of Bamenda is not the best. A few days passed by, we had raids in town, specific quarters, some guys were rounded up.
Go ahead, Gabi. We're listening to you 5 on 5.
Yes, and subsequently that led to another raid in Bafut subsequently, and then from the 26th of December, 26th of April, 26th of April to the 1st of what's wrong with me? 26th of April.
All right, Gabi, yesterday was Monday, and information streaming into our newsroom indicated that Bamenda was more or less a graveyard. Is ghost town still that respected even with the COVID-19 pandemic?
Yes, of course. Ghost town is here 100% on Mondays. Denying that fact, the ghost town is still up in Bamenda, most especially in the area where I live in Travelers.
All right. Now,
did you get me?
Go ahead, please. We're getting you 5 on 5.
Yes, I was saying that the ghost town is still alive here, and not just in Bamenda, but in the northwest. And so, well, it takes another move on ground to see how well that can be brought to rest by being able to address issues with the concerned belligerent parties in that regard.
All right, before we proceed further to take a look at the global security situation of the northwest region and some recent happenings in that part of the country, let's talk a little bit about the COVID-19. How are people behaving in the town of Bamenda with regards to the COVID-19 pandemic? Are they respecting all the restrictions?
Yeah, the people actually are living up to the response. They're trying to meet up with the preventive measures, ensuring that they stay safe and they stay clear of the pandemic that actually does taking a toll on our country and particularly the region. You're interested to know that we have about 11 cases so far, and of the 11, one died as we reported. The hospital, and the other ones are actually responding to treatment as per the medics report in that regard.
Right. And concerning the people who are living in the town of Bamenda and other parts of the northwest region in an atmosphere that is completely different from the rest of the country as a result of the crisis, with IDPs around, with the persons who are in the bushes and so on, how high is the risk of a possible explosion of COVID-19 figures if special measures, for example, the ceasefire requested for by some civil society and political leaders, are not implemented in Anglophone Cameroon?
You know as well as I do, Jonathan, like every other sane Cameroonian, and most especially Northwesterner, that the situation in Northwest is fluid. The situation has been fluid for over close to 2 years now, fluid in the sense of the intensity of the upheavals that actually have bedeviled the region. We have more on the exchange between the military and then the non-state armed groups, which actually has sent a lot of people in bushes. And the issue of the pandemic actually is much more appalling because it is not actually being addressed the way it's supposed to. In as much as I appreciate the the initiatives of the health officials, most especially the regional director of the Bamenda Regional Hospital and the regional delegate for health for Northwest, and the governor as well, coming on board to see how, as the chairman of the committee in charge of bringing a redress to the COVID situation. But I'm telling you that those are measures that definitely may not go this far, given the situation we have on ground. And so it will require that they need to penetrate the bushes and all the other lock-up areas, which definitely are far away from town, so that it will enable those that are far away in bushes, most especially the IDPs in makeshift homes and in communities that are harboring them, not to be able to receive appropriate response mechanisms or response equipments or measures that are put in place to be able to provide, most especially face masks, to be able to provide the buckets, the enhanced buckets for the facilitation of water, washing of the hands and cleaning of the hands. Some organizations are already doing it. They're trying their utmost, but that is just kind of palliative because they can't cover a wider population. And so that's a challenge which gets back to the government to see how well it should come to bring a better response rather than being able to identify those who are infected. Let's be able to arrest those who definitely are not infected so that proper attention be brought to them and so they can be safe and be able to open up to the various existing testing centers. If there are more than one in Norway, that to the best of my knowledge is just one. And so they can create many more of such centers, at least one per division. And so you can be able to bring this response closer to the communities. I think that would definitely go a long way to change the situation on ground in the region.
Gabi Ambo, as a human rights defender and a consultant in the northwest region of the country, your eyes and ears have been on the ground, keenly observing happenings in that part of the country. What is the state of the security climate in the region today? Is it still as tense as was the case some months back?
It's interesting to say at some point back, things seem to have been returning to normal. But the last weeks have been just so challenging because the concentration of troops or the affluence of troops inside the town of Bamenda are moving to the east, to the west, to the north, and to the south, to various communities. It's actually challenging. It's really annoying. It's actually a concern in the sense that the military who go to the various communities, take the case of Bafut, and you go and attack innocent citizens. Check the guy whose head was cut off. The pious whose head was cut off was, a child who just came in and was not quite well himself, and as per the reports and as per the findings, and then you have to kill such a person, ransack the house, get him out and kill him, cut off his head, and you pin it on a stick just beside the house there. It's actually challenging because I want to understand exactly if the military are really out for peace, they're really out to provide security, or there's something else they're looking for. It's appalling, it's challenging, and it's important for the Cameroonian authorities to revisit the actions of the military and see what kind of military they send to the field, what mission are they going for, and what action definitely they're intended to carry through, such that what they are doing should reflect the orders that are coming from the office, rather than them going to attack and kill the very innocent citizens who are definitely expected their protection and security from them. It's appalling, it's annoying, it's troubling.
Gabi, you're talking about an attack and the killing of innocent citizens by government soldiers or by state soldiers, but official information is saying that the soldiers were simply trying to restore the authority of the state over the whole territory, over the whole land of Bafut that was partially under the control of separatist fighters.
Jonathan, you understand as much as well as a good father will talk peace in the house rather than bring a big stick. When you start using a stick on your children, you let them much more heady and they get much more stubborn than when you choose to talk with them, dine with them on the table, and they will listen to you very well and bring reason to prevail. I don't think you're going to send the military to go and bring order. The military never brings order within its own country. The military is meant to fight a common enemy within the borders and not on citizens. They have definitely not instructions. There's no rule of the military that warrants the military to fight its own citizens. I've never found that anywhere. I think I've read the laws that govern military all over the world. There's no law which says that the military fights a civilian. The civilians are controlled by the police and probably the gendarmerie, not the army. When you deploy the army,
a gun battle between the elements of the National Armed Forces and the separatists who were carrying on some activities there.
Well, what I have to say here, it's not what you expect to hear from me, because we can't talk about a situation that is still ongoing. We're still doing our findings, and so it's not right for me to say anything as to what the findings are, because we're still working on them. But what's very clear and visible on ground is that the military went to Bafut and were there for close to 6 days, and they killed, they razed homes, they burned homes, they raped people, and the list continues. So I wouldn't say anything more than this until when we are done with our compilation of our report.
All right, as a human rights defender, Gabi Ambo, when you look at all of what has been happening in the two Anglophone regions of the country today, what can we say about the respect of human life, the respect of human rights, universally accepted human rights in those two regions?
It's clear. You don't need to go to anywhere to go find out what should be said. The violations are gross. The violations are gross. They are enormous. They are challenging. They are disturbing. You have extrajudicial executions. You have rape. You have property rights. Right to life is denied the people, and you can name the list in that order. It's a serious situation that warrants a government that is supposed to ensure the protection and safety of own citizens. If actually they truly are own citizens, they are definitely supposed to ensure the protection and safety of the citizens rather than the other way around. It is important that the very government has signed and ratified conventions, treaties and covenants. It's not living by them, because what is going on after Bafut, it's Bali. We just received information what's going on in Bali today, and Batibo and all the others. These are the ones that I can hear. I have people on ground able to tell me. The areas where I cannot reach, a lot more horrible things are going on there. So the human rights are being violated in Cameroon, most especially in the northwest and southwest region, and we're calling simply on the authorities. This is the second time I'm echoing this, to go to sit up and get the culprits who actually exact the wrong things on ground and give them the discipline that is required to be able to stop others from coming on errors.
All right. Gabi Ambo, human rights defender and consultant, joining us from the Northwest Regional Capital, Bamenda. Thanks so much, Gabi, for being with us today in this edition of the news. As you notice in those images from the Northwest Regional Capital, Bamenda and the rest of Anglophone Cameroon, notably the Northwest region, has been suffering from a problem of inadequate electric energy supply in that part of the country. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. That will be all for today.